Well, thank you. It's great to be here. And Tolmie, of course, is a part of Indi, and very pleased to be. And I should say that my school reports always used to say Norma could do much better if she didn't talk so much. So if I'm talking too much, they can say stop. This presentation was prepared for a National Volunteer Transport Congress that we went to in Canberra, where we presented the program. And at that conference, there were numbers of volunteer transport groups from all around Australia, most of whom were very concerned about what was going to happen if their government funding or their grant funding was removed. This is not a problem for Toast because our program is virtually cost neutral and doesn't matter about funding, but I'll go on to more of that. It was established as a result of a community forum from the Mansfield Shire for the smaller communities outside Mansfield, looking into the future, what things was the community looking for. And one of the things that came up was that if you live in Tolmie, which is about 25 to 30 k's out of Mansfield, and you can't drive or you don't have access to a car, you're really stuck because there's no public transport and not likely to be. And if you get a taxi to Tolmie from Mansfield, depending on where in Tolmie you live, it's about $50 one way, so you're not going to go in for coffee. What we were looking for was something that would save people from being socially isolated and enable them to do the things that they want to do. Many people who live in Tolmie have lived there for many years, love it, and don't really want to go anywhere else, but end up having to move because they can't access the services that they need. We looked at various transport options. Perhaps I'll just... What have I done? Back in. We were greatly assisted by Rod Squires, who was the Transport Connections Coordinator at a state government initiative for Benalla and Mansfield. We have now no general store, no petrol outlet or other essential services, and there's about 600 people living permanently in Tolmie now. And we looked at various options. Firstly, would we get a minibus? We decided against that because it was an asset to buy. You had to insure it, register it, house it somewhere, have somebody to drive it, and you weren't likely to take that in for one person. We looked at carpooling options, most of which seemed to be dependent on a group of people all going to the same destination at the same time. So we decided neither of those would work, and we then decided, were there people going to Mansfield who would be prepared to take people? So we set up a stall at the Tolmie market. We thought we might have trouble getting drivers. People came along, oh, what's this? Oh, several people go into Mansfield every day to work in the morning, come back at night, got a spare seat, happy to take somebody. Some people go once a week to do their shopping or other things. And before we knew it, we had about 17 people signed up to be volunteer drivers. All the drivers have a police check, and their car needs to be comprehensively insured, which means that you are then covered by TAC in the event of an accident. The other thing we had to address was public liability insurance, and the Tolmie Sports Association is an incorporated body, and they said if all the drivers and passengers were members of the association, we would be covered by their public liability insurance. That was a great save to us. Costs $1 to join and $2 a year, so it's not going to break the bank. The Shire gave us $1,000 seed funding, with which we had some brochures printed and a banner. And Rod Squires, who was then the Transport Connections coordinator, was invaluable to us in drawing up the legal forms that we needed. We have an application form for a driver and for the passenger, and a disclaimer form. Each driver and passenger signs a disclaimer form for each trip. And we drew up conditions under which we would take people. We won't take anybody affected by alcohol or drugs, for example. We mentioned smoking in the car. No money was to change hands, because if you charge a fee, then it's a hire service, and it's a totally different ball game there. So what happens is, you want a lift to Mansfield, you contact me and say, I want to go on Tuesday at 10 o'clock for a doctor's appointment, or I want to go on Tuesday and I don't care what time. I then find one of the drivers who's near to where you live, who is available on that day. Originally I used to telephone everybody, because in Tolmie there are parts where nobody has access to a mobile phone, and that was a problem. That has improved a little bit, but now I email the drivers and let them know, and we make contact like that. I've brought with me copies of the disclaimer form and other the conditions and so forth, and a list of why people have gone. We don't care why they want to travel, but I've made a list of reasons why people have gone, and they've included mostly medical appointments, hospital procedures, that sort of thing. We started planning on April 2011, took the first trip 20 November, and yesterday we've taken 475 trips. That's up and down to Mansfield. I guess the most significant person that the committee feels, if we didn't exist for anybody else, we do for this chap. He has a chronic medical condition, lives alone, solitary, his choice, but he lives in a shed, unlined, not insulated in any way. And the hospital contacted me to say he was needed for a procedure early in the morning that he'd been waiting for some time. He really needed to be in the night before, but they didn't have a bed. So we transported him, and in the course of transporting him, he said, well, what I used to do before was come in the night before and sleep in the park to make sure I'd be there on time. And we thought, this cannot be the way a caring community works. So I think Toast works in Tolmie because Tolmie is the sort of community it is. And people don't live in your pocket, but they're there for you if you need them. So we all feel that for Rob, it didn't exist for anybody else. It's been fantastic for him. I've got 2 minutes. And one of the questions, what are the 2 things that have been successful? Well, I think apart from the people who go for the sorts of reasons that I've got listed here, one of our people liked to volunteer at the aged care hostel. So she used to go in with somebody who went into work, went up to Binderee for a couple of hours, did her shopping, and came home with somebody else. So you may go in and out with the same person, or you might go in with one and come back with another. Biggest challenge, we thought we would have trouble getting the drivers. What we actually had trouble with was convincing the residents that it was all right for them to ask. Most of them didn't want to be a bother, had always been independent, didn't like to ask, and we then had drivers said, look, I volunteered and come and ask me. So we have the Tolmie Times, we put a notice in each month just to let people know that we're there and that they can ask. But do ask me any questions.
Any questions?
That's fascinating. Thank you. What a great story. Who pays for the petrol?
Well, the drivers, because they are going in, it's based on the fact that they're going anyway. So we've never had any driver ask for petrol. We don't normally go further than Tolmie to Mansfield, but in the case of Rob, he's now been diagnosed with a very nasty cancer and is having to come to Wang. We have reimbursed somebody who was prepared to take him to Wang, but we're not really asking people to go that far. It's a bit far to expect a volunteer driver to go, but we've been going since, as I say, November 2011, and the only expense really in this scheme is the police check, which we pay for, so the drivers don't have to pay for that. We occasionally have a raffle or something to raise a bit of money to pay for that. But other than that, it's because people are going anyway, so there's no... It's cost neutral as far as that's concerned.
Fantastic. Another quick question.
Could you just talk a little bit about the current level of usage in terms of the number of drivers now, the number...
Yeah.
Is it a daily service for people?
Yeah. Look, we might go days, weeks, and we don't take anybody. It just depends on what happens. When we started, we had about 16 drivers. We currently have 9, which is plenty, really. I think over the 8 years, there's only been 2 occasions when we weren't able, when we didn't have somebody available to take someone. I try to get people to let me know at least 24 hours in advance to give me time to contact people. We've got 9 drivers at the moment, and that's enough for what we need. This year so far we've taken, I think it's about 36 trips so far this year. It varies, you know, you might, as I say, you might go for weeks and you don't take anybody, it just depends. Sometimes it's people who are permanently without transport. Other times it could be somebody whose car's being serviced and they need to go and pick it up. Or they've lost their licence for many reasons which we won't go into.
Final question.
It seems to me that you're the absolute linchpin of this because everyone contacts you. Do you get to have a holiday? Is there a fallback position if...
We have a small committee of about 6, there's about 6 of us. We don't meet for the sake of meeting, we meet when we need to, and any one of the committee is able to take over. The way we've got it set up, it's pretty easy to manage.
Can we show appreciation in all?